Hey guys, it's me, I'm back, Ash. And if you're a 13 or a 16-year-old boy or girl, whatever, maybe you're unvulnerable, maybe you're part girl or part boy, and you haven't do your book report, and your teacher will be very mad at you, and then slap you with a ruler. Just ignore my youngest brother, okay? Okay, so let's get on with the book.
Charlotte's Web by E.B. White and pictures by Garth Williams, or illustrated, whatever you call it. Charlotte's Web. Chapter 1, Before Breakfast. "Where's Papa going with that axe?" said Fern to her mother as they were setting the table for breakfast. "Out to the hog house," replied Mrs. Arable. "Some pigs were born last night." "I don't see why he needs an axe," continued Fern, who was only 8. "Well," said her mother, "one of the pigs is a runt. It's very small and weak. It will never amount to anything, so your father has decided to do away with it." "Do away with it?" shrugged Fern. "I'm really sorry if it's moving. My brother." Yeah, he's so annoying, right? I'll just do it on my table. Oh yeah, please ignore the pinkness. That's because this is my older sister's room. So, yeah. "Do away with it?" shrugged Fern. "You mean kill it? Just because it's... I hate you. Just because it's smaller than the others?" Mrs. Arable put a pitcher of cream on the table. "Don't yell, Fern," she said. "Your father is right. The pig is probably die anyway." Fern pushed the chair out of the way and ran outdoors. The grass was wet and the earth smelled of springtime. Fern's sneakers were sopping by the time she caught up with her father. "Please don't kill it," she sobbed. "It's unfair." Mr. Arable stopped walking. "Fern," he said gently. "Sorry about that. That was a matter of my brother." Fern, he said gently, "you will have to learn to control yourself." "Control myself?" yelled Fern. "This is a matter of life and death, and you talk about controlling myself." Tears ran down her cheeks, and she took hold of the axe and tried to pull it out of her father's hand. "Fern," said Mr. Arable, I know more about raising a litter of pigs than you do. A weakling makes trouble. Now run along." "But it's unfair," cried Fern. The pig couldn't help being born small, could it? If I had been very small at birth, would he have killed me?" Mr. Arable smiled. "Certainly not," he said, looking down at his daughter with love. "But this is different. A little girl is one thing. A little runty pig is another." "I see no difference," replied Fern, still hanging on to the axe. "This is the most terrible case of injustice I ever heard of." A queer look came over John Arable's face. He seemed almost ready to cry himself. "All right," he said. "You go back to the house, and I will bring along the runt when I come in. I'll let you start it on a ball like a baby. Then you'll see what trouble a pig can be." When Mr. Arable returned home half an hour later, he carried a carton under his arm. Fern was upstairs changing her sneakers. The kitchen table was set up for breakfast, and the room smelled of coffee, bacon, damp plaster, and wood smoke from the stove. Put it on her chair," said Mrs. Arable. Mr. Arable set the carton down at Fern's place. Then he said Mrs. Arable. Mr. Arable set the carton down at Fern's place. Then he walked to the sink and washed his hands and dried them on the roller towel. Fern came slowly downstairs. Her eyes were red from crying. As she approached her chair, the carton wobbled, and there was a scratching noise. Fern looked at her father. Then she lifted the lid of the carton. There inside, looking up at her, was the newborn pig. It was a white one. The morning light shone through its ears and turning them pink. "He's yours," said Mr. Arable, "saved from timely death. May the good Lord forgive me for this foolishness." Fern couldn't take her eyes off the tiny pig. "Oh," she whispered. "Oh, look at him. He's absolutely perfect." She closed the carton carefully. First she kissed her father, then she kissed her mother, then she opened the lid again, lifting the pig out, and held it against her cheek. At this moment, her brother Avery came into the room. Avery was 10. He was heavily armed, an air rifle in one hand, a wooden dagger in the other. "What's that?" he demanded. "What's Fern got?" "She's got a guest for breakfast," said Mrs. Arable. "Wash your hands and face, Avery." "Let's see it," said Avery, setting his gun down. "You call it a miserable pig? That's a fine specimen of pig. It's no bigger than a white rat. Wash up and eat your breakfast, Avery," said his mother. "The school bus will be along in half an hour. Can I have a pig too?" To the sink washed his hands and dried them on the roller towel. Fern came slowly downstairs. Her eyes were red from crying. As she approached her chair, the carton wobbled. There was a scratching noise. Fern looked at her father. Then she lifted the lid of the carton. There inside, looking up at her, was the newborn pig. It was a white one. The morning light shone through its ears, turning them pink. "He's yours, Kong Abilene Ayer," said Mr. Arable, "saved from an untimely death, and may the good Lord forgive me from this foolishness." Fern couldn't take her eyes off the tiny pig. "Wash up and eat your breakfast, Avery." Avery said his mother. "The school bus will be along in half an hour," said mother. "The school bus will be half an hour." Sorry about the repeats. "Can I have a pig too, Pop?" asked Avery. "No, I only distribute pigs to early risers, Mr. Arable." Fern was up daylight trying to get rid of the world of injustice. As a result, she now has a pig, a small one, to be sure, but a nevertheless pig. It shows what happens if a person gets out of bed promptly. Let's see! But Fern couldn't eat until her pig had a drink of milk. Mrs. Arable found a baby's nursing bottle and a rubber nipple. She poured warm milk into the bottle and fitted the nipple over the top and handed it to Fern. "Give him his breakfast," she said. A minute later, Fern was seated on the floor in the corner of the kitchen with her infant between her knees, teaching it to suck from the bottle. The pig, although tiny, had a good appetite and caught on quickly. The school bus honked from the road. "Run!" commanded Mrs. Arable, taking the pig from Fern and slipping a donut into her hand. Avery grabbed his gun and another donut. The children ran out to the road and climbed into the bus. Fern took no notice of others in the bus. She just sat and stared out the window, thinking what a blissful world it was and how lucky she was to have an entire charge of a pig. By the time the bus reached the school, Fern had named her pig, selecting the most beautiful or stupidest name she could think of. "Its name is Wilbur," she whispered to herself. She was still thinking about the pig when the teacher said Fern was the capital of Pennsylvania. "Wilbur," replied Fern dreamily. The pupils giggled. Fern blushed. So that's it for all today for Charlotte's Web. So, okay, bye! Oh yeah, before I end this video, I just want to tell you, but I think I'll do the next chapter on, I think 1 hour or tomorrow. Oh, so, okay, bye for real.